Welcome. This is Uncommon Sense, a podcast presented by the Heshi CPA Knowledge Center. The center is an initiative of the CPA Education Foundation, the charitable arm of the Chartered Professional Accountant profession in Alberta. Our episodes feature conversations with Alberta CPAs sharing their insights on a wide range of timely topics. Alberta CPAs work in every part of the economy and volunteer their time and expertise in virtually every community in Alberta. With each episode, we bring you voices and perspectives that reflect the diverse knowledge and contributions that CPAs bring to our province. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Uncommon Sense. I'm Jessica DeGroot with the CPA Education Foundation. One of the themes we're exploring on this season of Uncommon Sense is the concept of wellness and how it relates to career success and fulfillment. Like many people, chartered professional accountants usually have busy and occasionally hectic careers. To balance out their busy lives, many CPAs dedicate as much time as they can to focusing on their personal wellness and fitness. Today's guest, Robyn Hamilton CPA CA, is a great example of that commitment to achieving balance in one's life. Robyn currently serves as Associate Vice President, Financial Planning, Investments and Insights with ATB Financial. In this role, she is responsible for shaping financial planning and insight strategy. She and her team use data-driven insights to support budgeting, forecasting, and performance across her organization. In addition to being a highly successful CPA and corporate leader, Robyn also excels in another field. She is an accomplished marathon runner who has traveled the globe to participate in some of the world's largest marathons. Robyn has joined me to talk about how she maintains her commitment to personal wellness, as well as her career as a CPA, her life as a marathon runner, and how those two worlds connect with each other. Welcome, Robyn, and thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for having me, and I'm really excited to be on the show.
Wonderful. So as always, I'm going to open our conversation by asking you to share a piece of uncommon sense. This is a piece of advice or words of wisdom that has meant something to you at some point in your life.
As we're talking about running today, I think one of the things that always stick with me is to enjoy the journey and not just to be focused on the finish line.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially when you're running very long distances. You need to, I hope you would enjoy the process of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so before we talk about your experience as a marathon runner, can you just talk a little bit about why you chose to become a CPA and briefly outline your career path that has led you to your current position with ATB?
So I'd actually say that I'm more of an accidental CA, to be honest. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something I ever wanted to do. I'd never actually be an accountant because we had some of those in our family. But after university, I landed up doing an accounting role and then had the opportunity to join an audit firm and do my articles. So I am really actually glad that I became a CPA and a CA, and I think it's benefited me a lot through my life. Mm-hmm. All that to say, I've always been around banking and technology in terms of my career. Post my designation, I was at one of the big 5 banks in South Africa. There we looked after a portfolio of technology investments, and we were trying to see how we could leverage those technologies within the bank. So a really cool role. From there, I carried on in the IT kind of space, leading a finance team at a small IT organization in South Africa. My husband and I then moved to Canada. And I contracted for a little bit before starting my journey at ATB. I started out in the financial reporting area and have been really fortunate to move around the organization, always within finance, but supporting different areas of the business. And then about 7 years ago, or 8 years ago now, actually, I made my way back to the corporate accounting area, leading the team that's responsible for external reporting and enterprise accounting. And a year ago, I found myself in my current position that you mentioned. So I'd say I'm still a newbie in this role, but enjoying the challenge all the same.
That's wonderful. And ATB Financial is a unique institution with a long history of service to Albertans. Do you have any thoughts on how your CPA skills have really helped you succeed in such a high-profile organization during your 16 plus years with them?
So I think when we think about the CA designation, we normally focus on technical accounting, IFRS standards, but I think it's much deeper than that. And the skills we learn go far beyond that. I think we learn to think critically. We learn to interpret financial data that helps us to provide insights and propose recommendations. I think that's been key to my success at ATB, along with that ability to translate and tell the story around the numbers in a way that non-financial stakeholders can understand them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I want to transition the conversation now to talk a little bit more about your marathon running. So you've been building what has been a very successful career, and then obviously you've also found time to be a serious marathon runner. How did you first get into marathon running, and what is it about it that appeals to you?
So I'd say running's always been in the background. I did cross country at school. And as I mentioned, I'm South African originally. Mm-hmm. And there's a ultra marathon called the Comrades that every year you used to get up early to watch the gun go off at about 5:30 a.m. It was kind of an institution. And you'd stay tuned in the whole day, watching the elite runners and then watching everybody else try and cross the finish line. And it's quite a harsh race in a way. You get cut off if you don't cross the finish line by the time the gun goes off. So you see the person that's going to fire the shot that says the race is over, turn their back to the runners and fire the gun. So some people make it and some people don't. So some people achieve their goals and others have their hearts broken in that moment. So this always kind of stuck with me, and it was a goal that I always had. I'd say I only really started pursuing it though when I worked at the financial institution in South Africa. There was a team that was doing a charity event. We were running or doing these events for AIDS Foundation, and you had to put a team together and raise money while you did a mile swim. It was a mile race, a 94.7 cycle race, and then a 21.1K race. And out of all the three disciplines, which I still do today, running was the one that stuck. And I'd say the reason it did, it's just that it's uncomplicated. Mm-hmm. You can lace up your shoes and basically start running from your doorstep. It's easy. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as getting on a bike or swimming for that matter. So I think that's what kind of was my starting point to kind of say, I want to take this further. It's a good way to get out there. You can explore faster than what you can when you're walking, but then slower than when you experience things slower than when you're in a car driving around. So it just kind of stuck and got me into running.
That's awesome. So how many years ago, I guess how many years have you been running then?
Oh, it's a long time. So I did my first marathon around 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So you're quite experienced. And a lot of people would, maybe run a marathon each year kind of in their hometowns, which is quite an accomplishment on its own. But you actually traveled the world to compete. So what cities have you visited to participate in marathons?
So I have been very fortunate to get to explore the world while running. I would highlight just a few of the cities that we've been running. And I say we quite often just because I do this with my husband. So okay. It sounds strange when I say we because I'm talking about me, but really we're a team when we do this. Mm-hmm. So some of the cities are Amsterdam, Tokyo, London, Boston and Berlin. But I think what's interesting about doing various races is not necessarily the big cities that you go to, but it's going to some of those destinations you'd never get to go to. So I'll highlight two there. We did a race up in Tromsø in the Arctic Circle. Oh. And it's called the Midnight Sun Marathon. And you start at 8 p.m. at night. And the goal is to finish around midnight. So see that midnight sun shining brightly on around June 21st. The year we did it, though, there was no sun. It was pouring with rain. Oh, no. But the light stayed the same the whole time. Another place I find interesting where we landed was a place called Leadville. It's out in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. Mm-hmm. And you start the race at around 10,000 feet. It's a trail marathon. and you finish you turn around at a place called Mosquito Pass, which is just over 13,000 feet up. So it's an interesting race. You see everybody trying, and with the effects of altitude, you just see people slow down. It's quite a strange thing, but it's such a small mining town. We would never have gone there before. So I think that's the beauty of it, is really uncovering those gems that you just wouldn't get to.
Yeah. So those places, this transitions perfectly into my next question, because obviously all of these different places have very different terrains, weather conditions, and so on. So what is really involved in preparing to run a marathon in a city that you're not familiar with, or that has drastically different conditions than what we experience here in Edmonton?
So I'd say the base training is always the same. Nothing really changes too much. Obviously, you consider things like the elevation gain or loss. To be honest, I'm not a great uphill runner. I prefer going down than up. So that kind of factors in. I have to put in more effort if there is a hilly course that I'm going to be tackling. And then I think when it gets to just before going to the race, I check the weather a lot just to kind of see what conditions you can expect on the day. Of course, you can never know exactly what it's going to be like, even if you choose the seasons. And then I'd say a big focus as well when you get there and the night before the race is really around eating. I know, everyone always thinks of racing and carbo loading's very popular, and that's why some people run. But I find that actually having a lighter meal is better for me personally. So I'll seek out a restaurant and a place to go get that. And then when you get there, it's more so around acclimatizing, especially if you've been on a long journey to get there. So you will go out and run in the city, not necessarily on the course or anything like that, but it's just, shaking out the legs, seeing how you feel, and getting used to the conditions around you.
Yeah. How many days would you plan to be there before the race? Because you kind of want to get used to the difference in time and shake out the traveling and stuff like that.
Yeah, it really does depend. Ideally, I'd say 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Again, you can't plan everything. So there have been instances where we've been delayed with flights and landed up getting in at 2 a.m. the day before the race. But you just have to pivot and manage the situation. But yeah, ideally 2 to 3 days before.
Okay. And then when you're in a new city for a marathon, do you get the opportunity to enjoy the city a little bit as a tourist? Or do you have kind of some time to do anything else other than the races usually?
Yeah, so I'm typically not one of those people that kind of likes to just fly in and fly out. To me, it's about really experiencing where you are and immersing yourself in the culture. So the goal will typically be to incorporate a race into our vacation. And we'll normally try to have it at the beginning. So at least we get to celebrate and enjoy and relax our time afterwards. Doesn't always happen like that, but that's typically the goal.
Yeah. And I have to ask how, with a busy career as well, and I'm sure you've been doing this for so long, it's just running is so integrated into your lifestyle. But how do you find time and when do you run and do your training?
Yeah, I think to your point, sometimes I don't give it a second thought because it's very much part of what I've been fortunate enough to do. But to me, it's part of getting ready in the morning, part of just preparing for the day. So typically, I like to train in the morning versus the afternoon. I find that if I train in the morning, I've got a better chance of doing that, to actually, getting out and running, versus the end of the day. Sometimes your day can drag on. There's work commitments, and I find when I put it off to the afternoon, that's maybe more when I wouldn't get to do it.
Yeah, so I tend to talk myself out of it throughout the day.
Yeah, and it's exactly that, right? Life gets busy. You kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to start early and finish early, but that never really seems to happen either. So yeah, incorporating it into my morning routine is the best thing for me.
So if you could pick just one, what would be your favorite memory of a marathon that you've participated in?
Yeah, choosing just one is quite hard, to be honest, because I think you walk away from every single event with something memorable and something that sticks. But if I do have to choose just one, it would be completing the Tokyo Marathon. When I finished Tokyo, I earned my 6-star medal, and that's a medal which shows that you've done all the major Abbott marathons of the world. Mm-hmm. The reason why this was also so meaningful was we were scheduled to run it in 2020, and 10 days before the race, it got cancelled for the non-elite athletes. So each year we kind of thought we were going to be doing it, but Japan was one of the last countries to open. So we only actually got to do that race in 2023.
Oh, wow.
So after, 3 years of training and not knowing whether you were going to run, we towed the line, and I was pretty happy to complete that goal. And it was also a race where I was part of the group that got a Guinness Book of record, I guess, because there had been so many people that couldn't finish the 6 stars that the group was like 3,000 runners, and there were only 11,000 in the world at that time. So a fairly significant portion of the 6-star winners actually ran on that day.
Mm-hmm. And completing all of those major marathons is an amazing accomplishment. That's so exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
Of the majors, which one would be your favorite, aside from that experience in Tokyo?
Yeah, people often ask me that question, and it's hard to say. I mean, obviously the prestige of Boston is a big one, but I'd say the standout is maybe Berlin. Oh, yeah. Just it's really easy to get to the start line. The atmosphere around it is quite something. And then when we've run it as well, the world record was broken. So I think that kind of makes it all the more special. Mm-hmm. And I know it's been in the news quite a bit recently because Harry Styles just ran it. So maybe that's why I'm kind of thinking it's top of mind. But it really is a nice race.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So obviously it's no surprise here, we live in a winter province. So I'm wondering, how do you maintain your training over the course of the long winter? Do you still run outside, or do you have an indoor training routine?
So I spoke about tying up your laces and how running's uncomplicated. Yeah. I'd say with winter, it's a little bit more complicated. You've obviously got to make sure that you're dressed appropriately. And I do have shoes with spikes in. Yeah. So, we actually do run outside until around -20 or so. That's the cutoff. Besides from that, still run and swim as well, and have trainers in the basement. So when it is dark and too cold to go out, then obviously we hit the trainers. I will say, though, that it is harder for sure in the winter. For the last number of years, I keep on thinking, okay, once a week we're going to do one long run in our training, like maintain the 15K base, and that would be a good start for the next season. I will say, though, that we haven't actually managed to accomplish that. So it's one of those things. You do what you can. Yeah. But I do like going outside and running, especially when there's been fresh snow. And I'm fortunate enough to live near the river valley. Oh, nice. So, when you've got that sun shining and the snowpack, and it's just beautiful. Yeah.
I enjoy running as well. And I love getting into a routine in the warmer months. Like, it's so nice to go outside when, the weather's beautiful. But if I think about, I can't think too much about getting up at 5 a.m. and going for a run outside in the cold winter. Like, that just sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's different for sure. Yeah. It's, it's harder, but it's doable. It's always around the gear, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And the kind of mental conditioning too. Like, you really have to adjust your mindset.
Yeah, you do. I absolutely do. And realize as well that you don't want to necessarily go out too far from home, or you want to have a phone or something with you just in case you run into any issues. So there's those couple of things extra you have to do, I guess.
Yeah. And it's probably beneficial that you do run with your husband. So there's the two of you at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what are the benefits, whether physical, mental, or otherwise, to being a marathon runner in your view?
So I think, there's a lot. Our minds automatically go to things like staying physically active, and, it's good cardio exercise. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. For me, I think some of the benefits are when I go out running, I either get to just let my mind wander and completely unplug, or alternatively, I'll be fully focused on what I'm doing and just putting one step in front of the other. In both those instances, I find that it's a really good stress reliever. It's a way of just disconnecting and being with your thoughts. It's also, it helps me sleep better, just be more mindful generally. And I find it sounds strange because I don't think everybody feels this when they run, but it's almost like a bit of meditation. It's a way to meditate while you're on your feet.
Mm-hmm. I find sometimes, like when I would go for a long run, it's almost like, when you're driving somewhere and you kind of zone out. This is going to sound terrible. I am a good driver, I swear, but you kind of zone out and then you get to your destination and you're like, oh, I kind of like don't even remember the drive. Like I find sometimes that can happen when you're running.
Yeah, absolutely can. And sometimes I've also kind of thought about something related to work that was tripping me up. And then I'll come back and I'm like, oh, I've got an answer. So
Mm-hmm.
so it serves so many different purposes that I think are beneficial.
Yeah. And in your view, what is the connection between physical fitness and personal wellness and career fulfillment?
So to me, they all interconnected. I think there's a strong relationship between each of them. When everything's in harmony, I think you show up well in all those things. So if you're getting good training in, normally your sleep is better. You're more mindful of your nutrition, and I find you're more focused and performing better at work. When you're not training as well, you might not be sleeping as well, and then it knocks onto everything. Yeah. So I think it's just if something gives in that equation, it's going to impact everything else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just deeply connected for me.
Yeah. So besides the fitness aspect, are there any lessons that you've learned as a runner that you can apply to being a CPA? And conversely, are there aspects of being a CPA that you can apply to your approach to running?
Yeah, I actually think there's quite a lot, but I'd say the two biggest things are being resilient and the ability to pivot. So this is key when you're running, but I think it's also important being a CPA because we have to work through a number of complex issues and bounce back and, kind of say what's the new path. So I think running helps with that. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, I think typically most CPAs, or for me personally, I think it's taught me to be disciplined and to always be thinking 2 steps ahead. And that helps running because, again, discipline in terms of training and getting out there is useful. And then just thinking about, okay, what I need to be prepared for, what's going to change on me. And that thought process helps me there too. So I think they complement each other really well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And for you, how important is competing? How important is competing and going through that process? What is your ultimate goal when it comes to running?
So it really does depend on the race. I'd say I do always have one common goal, and that's to beat my husband.
I love that.
And typically I do, actually. On the longer distances, I can take him. But all that to say, on the larger marathons, to me, it's more about the experience, enjoying the support along the way, and just, sometimes you'll be in a place where you don't even understand the language and people are cheering you on. So I really enjoyed that experience. And for those events, I'm not typically focused on time. Mm-hmm. But then when I do smaller races, then I'll typically try and run as fast as what I can and try and place within my age group.
Do you ever do shorter distances?
If we run races, or if I run races that are shorter, it's typically a half marathon. Yeah. Which is it's a fun event to do. I think it's easier to get to. Mm-hmm. So that would typically be the shortest. I kind of always think we should do 5 or 10 Ks, but I think what it is when you're doing those distances as part of your training, to pay an entry fee and make all the effort to get to the start line just kind of seems a bit much, so we don't end up doing it.
Yeah. I feel like, when you 5K is that's probably a very short run for you.
Well, it depends on the day.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. If someone you knew was planning on starting marathon running, what advice would you give them?
So I'd start by saying it's a marathon and not a sprint. Mm-hmm. So I think what you want to do is start slowly. You want to try be as consistent as possible and give yourself and your body time to adapt. I think, especially with running becoming popular at the moment and, things posted all over Instagram, people just want to tick a list, I would say, at the moment. And it's like, okay, I have to run a marathon and I have to do it within 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
To me, that's a lofty goal. And I think what happens then is you might run it, but you might never run another kilometer again, or definitely not another marathon again. I think it's better if you start slowly and build up to it. And again, it's about that whole journey to me and not just about the finish line. Mm-hmm. And I also think one needs to be kind to themselves. Things don't always go as planned, and just realize that. And if you need to take a step back, or if other things are getting in the way and life's getting in the way, just realize that's part of it all as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you see all these training plans and it's like 0 to marathon in 12 weeks type thing. And it's like, I'm not sure if that's going to be really, especially like you need to actually build up like the leg strength and like get your joints and your bones even used to like pounding the pavement like that. It is fairly hard on the body.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that whole endurance aspect, right? It's that mental ability to push through that I think in such a short space of time you don't necessarily get to do.
Right. So what is something that you've discovered about the experience of running a marathon that you think would surprise some people when you tell them?
So it can be pretty humbling. And I say that because you might have people of all different ages and abilities pass you on a race that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And then another big one for me is you learn a lot about people in a very short space of time. So you'll have these interactions when you're getting ready to run a marathon. You're typically in a start corral. You'll start talking to different people, or you'll just look around you. And a lot of people are running for charity, or they'll have someone's picture on their shirts or name that they're running in memory of. And although everyone has a common goal of getting to the finish line, everyone's story is unique. Mm-hmm. So you'll have these random interactions either in the start corral or along the route, or even at the end, where you often see people in tears and really emotional after running, and you'll speak to them and they'll share some of their journey. So I think you don't realize how quickly you learn something about people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. So one last question for you before we wrap up. Do you have any marathons coming up in the next little while?
So I'm actually supposed to do Victoria Marathon on Sunday.
Oh.
I say supposed to because I seem to have picked up a bit of an injury. So I pulled my hamstring. So I'm going to go do a shakeout run tomorrow, see how it feels, and I'll take it from there. Mm-hmm. If I don't get to do that, though, I will definitely be on the start line next year at a race. I haven't really done the planning yet for next year because this would kind of be the end of our season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll have to be kind to myself and just see how I can do, see if I'm ready for Sunday or not.
Yeah, it can be hard when you have those injuries or even like a little niggle, as they call them, right? Like, how do you push through? Do you take some time away?
Yeah, and it's a tricky one because I ran Sydney August 30th, so not that long ago, and done quite a few instances where we do kind of 2 races close together, and it seems to have worked really well. But I guess it works well until something goes wrong in this case. And wrong is maybe not the best word because it's just a pull, but it's really not helping my running. But that's part of it all, and you've just got to take it in your stride. So I'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, best of luck with your run tomorrow, and I hope you do end up being able to go. And best of luck if you do run your next marathon or when you do. So thank you so much for joining me to talk about your experience as a CPA and a runner. What you've achieved as a CPA and a marathon runner is really so impressive, and it's been a real pleasure to learn about your life in both of those worlds. So thank you again.
Thanks so much, Jessica. I really enjoyed the time.
The Uncommon Sense podcast is presented by the CPA Education Foundation and funded by the Heshe CPA Knowledge Center. The Knowledge Center was created through a generous donation by the late Brian Heshe. Brian was a distinguished Albertan, business leader, CPA, educator, and community builder. His generosity and commitment to education underpinned his good works across Alberta throughout his lifetime. The opinions expressed on Uncommon Sense do not necessarily reflect the views of the CPA Education Foundation. We would like to acknowledge that CPA Education Foundation offices are situated on the traditional Treaty 6 and Treaty 7 territories and Métis Nation homeland. The Foundation acknowledges that we reside on traditional and ancestral territories of many Indigenous, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Their histories and culture influence our community to this day. The Foundation is committed to helping build a province where Indigenous people and their voices and experiences are heard, valued, respected, and celebrated. Technical and recording services for this podcast provided by Wolf Willow Studios in Edmonton. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you have any comments about the podcast, write to us at cpaef@cpaalberta.ca. To learn more about the CPA Education Foundation and the Heshe CPA Knowledge Center, visit cpaalberta.ca/foundation.